spider thing going on there with the wind through his hair.
As a fan, just not out of camera.
I'm gonna mute Keith. Where's the mute?
Well, I think he's fine.
I'm glad you do.
Steve
Let's do
wouldn't
a
know what
survey.
to,
Let's do a poll.
Okay.
he wouldn't know what to do without me, Dennis. So I'm feeling very relaxed here.
Let me know if anyone finds us streaming on any service.
I'm looking at Facebook and something is there,
I haven't gotten any notifications.
but I don't see the program. I just see a.
Twitter is there.
Twitter is there. Time to share if you want to share.
Okay.
Thanks, Frank, for that share.
LinkedIn is not there.
LinkedIn's not there.
Nope.
Ugh.
Oh,
Good
man.
with that.
All right. Well, we don't. Okay. It looks like we're streaming to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and probably not LinkedIn. So, all right.
No, you're on LinkedIn. You're on.
Oh, okay. And we're streaming to LinkedIn.
You used to get a notification about that, but not anymore.
We are everywhere, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. And mute is off. And we're gonna go in. Oops. Let me get Steve right.
We're gonna go in oops.
Yeah. That's an oopsie. We're gonna go in.
No, start.
Okay, mute is off. And we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Yeah, that's fun. Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor Gang. We're coming to you at an extremely early time, in a very late part of the summer. Okay, welcome from the platform of Massachusetts is Dennis Pombriant. Welcome, Dennis.
the platform.
Hello, Steve. Greetings from here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Commonwealth.
That sounds very communistic to me.
Chocolate.
Only in Cambridge, the People's Republic.
Uh,
From the little Flemish town of Rotterdam.
I like
There you
that
go.
part. Is that a reference?
Yes, it is.
Has to be. Come on.
Okay. From London, England is representing the Firesign Theater, Frank Radis.
So Brent, what they should have called the 20, they should reissue it and call it the 1999. Because
Hold on a second. Say that again. They should call it the 1999.
the 1999 and put Prince's picture on it. Anyway.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
this movie on the Playas yesterday.
Saw this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Frank.
Discussion about the
I gave you a shout out because you sent it to me right in time for me to do something with it for the end of our show.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So thank you.
the guy who's talking to the guy from London is Brent Leary. Welcome, Brent.
I feel a different kind of energy at this time of a day on a Friday for the gang. It's kind of scary.
I feel better now. I don't know what's going on there in the upper left-hand corner of my screen, but it looks like Michael Markman. Welcome, Michael.
how do you do? This is Michael Markman here in the environs of Seattle.
So I've been reading your newsletter. It sounds like you're just expanding on your tweets.
It could be. It could be. Or I'm shrinking my newsletter into my tweets. I don't know which comes first.
Either way, it's a good idea. I like the duck, by the way. Is
I need to duck off for just a sec.
that a duck back there or a chicken?
Ducking
It's a goose.
off. It sounds
Oh, there
like-
it is.
I think what that is, Frank, is it's the old curiosity shop.
Ah, ha, ha. The Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah.
That's probably a hat in that case.
It is a hat. It's all hats. It's hats and brooches.
Certainly not a duck, but it looks like
Hats,
Yeah.
brooches, and vases.
that was like forced perspective as you walked into the shot. It was weird.
From the state of Palo Alto is Keith Tier.
A pleasure to be here at this early hour on a Friday.
Another People's Republic.
It is actually. We have our own fiber. We have our own utilities.
It's highly alliterative to People's Republic of Palo Alto.
But it's the rich people's republic. It's a bit like the place that Barcelona's in. What's it called?
Catalonia?
Catalonia. Yeah. No, people don't realize this, but Catalonia is rich Spain. And when they want freedom and independence, they mean we don't want to have to look after the poor people in the other parts of Spain. So it's
We
you
don't
know-
pay taxes.
The bull rink as you come into that part of Spain is spectacular.
Well, that's a really good response to the political discussion.
There you go. The bull
That's
rink.
you would approve, I'm sure.
Only a
well, you've
TV
got-
man.
You've
Only a
taken,
TV man would focus on that.
We've taken half the show up.
no, you've just taken about all of the political content of the show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's
I'm
it?
sure.
Okay.
But the thing is, because of homage to
Wow, he
Catalonia,
disappeared. Okay, great.
because of homage to Catalonia, we all grow up thinking of Catalonia as a kind of the revolution against fascism, but actually it itself is a bit fascist.
Sort of like the
Well-
Republican Party.
Yeah.
There's great business going on in Catalonia, and it's rich with a pretty open market.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Unlike the north of Spain, where it's basically fishing boats bringing in fishes.
got to fish where the fish are.
Santander and the like.
All right. Wow.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
We're cooking with gas here.
Hey, how about that tube strike?
Steve looks like the Cheshire Cat.
Me, I always smile. People always tell me that. I don't know why. It's because I laugh at my own jokes. That's one of my big weaknesses.
Well, somebody has to.
Boom.
The funniest jokes are ones at your own expense. That's I think it's a British thing. You learn to just take it because you have no choice. So then you start laughing at it.
Unlike an American comedian who just won't take it.
Well, they give it. They make jokes about other people.
I think of Don Rickles.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Saturday, the Comedy Central, Jon Stewart and the Aftermath is a bit Bill Maher. They're the first comedians that are kind of British in that they do make fun of America. You know, they're self-aware in a funny way.
Well, you could add Carlin to that list. You could certainly add Lenny Bruce to that list.
Yeah,
You could add Mort Sahl to that list. It is not the dominant tradition in American comedy, but it's definitely in there.
yeah. It's
He
good.
shot the president, Paolo. He shot the president. Sorry, that was number 2.
Another fire sign reference.
Yeah, well, dead presidents for 50, Alec.
Well, I mean, politics as usual.
Yeah, okay,
I
so
asked you-
put it off your chest, whatever it is you want to say, so that we can move on.
Can I want to ask a technology question, which is, have any of you discovered this thing called a DAC, a digital to analog converter that you plug into your Mac and then into some speakers, and you can get lossless, high quality streamed audio that's as good as analog audio, a DAC.
Sounds cool.
Well,
There's this
I've
whole,
I've
there's
seen
this
that.
whole-
I've had DAX in the past.
No, those might have been DATs.
So there's a whole subculture now. I'm going to move my camera and point it. So that bottom thing there is a DAC. And basically, Apple now does 192 kilohertz streamed as opposed to 44.1 kilohertz, which is CD quality. And so you can stream at 192 kilohertz. And if you plug that into some powered speakers or into an amplifier, you get audibly better audio from Apple Music. And it costs, these things are Chinese. You can get them as cheap as $100 and they go all the way up to thousands of dollars. So there's this whole subculture on YouTube, which is about DACs. And some people are spending like $15,000 on one of these things. It gets you like 2% better quality.
Well, the audiophile world is its own universe.
Yeah, they won't care. They won't care. They'll buy every new one as soon as it comes out. Right, Keith?
It's just like coffee machines. It's like, it's the same thing.
I do it.
You're
I
drinking
used to
this
do it.
awesome coffee and then you say, oh, I'm selling this coffee machine. By the way, I sold my Kia EV this week.
Why?
Because we don't need 3 cars now, Dylan. My son is going back to college. And by the way, Carvana offered me $61,000 for it. I only paid $59,000 new.
What?
Jeez.
Yeah.
So these things are actually decent investments if you can get them close to, and I paid $4,000 over the asking price.
Wow.
They're
Well, that
selling
speaks
on
to-
they're selling on Carvana for $72,000.
Wow, that speaks to the demand, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine that's it.
Yeah.
Carvana is a national thing. They can right. They can sell this car anywhere in America, or is it just in
Anyway, they can
driving?
sell it anywhere. They basically buy it and then list it, and then wherever it sells, they register it in that state.
And then they ship it there, wherever it happens to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in trouble though. Their stock's way down.
Well, see, that sort of sets up the whole Andreessen Horowitz thing. What the hell's that all about? You'll pardon my French.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was my question to Keith. Were you surprised that Andreessen Horowitz is going to invest with this WeWork guy?
I would have been surprised with a lot of VC funds doing that, but Andreessen, I'm not surprised because it's really all about Mark Andreessen and Horowitz, Ben Horowitz's people. If you think about it, they've had their share of failures. Like after Netscape, Andreessen did LoudCloud, and LoudCloud almost went bankrupt, and then was sold. And so it kind of came okay in the end. But he's very familiar with the swings and roundabouts of being an entrepreneur. And his main, if you listen to him, which he's recently been doing quite a lot of interviews and podcasts and stuff and video things, he's really the same person he was when he did Netscape. He thinks of the world as full of potential. He wants to impact big things. And one of the things he's gotten focused on, and I'm not convinced this is a smart decision, not because of Adam. Do you say Newman or Neumann?
I think Newman. I
I think it
think
was Newman on the documentary.
So if you think about Adam Newman, it's really not to do with him 100%. It's to do with the residential real estate and the mortgage and rental business, which if you analyze them rationally, the mortgage business is just dead on top of assets, where the people who make the money from the asset are the mortgage lenders, and the homeowner, can make money, but the bigger their mortgage, the less they're going to make. Most of the uptick in the house will be reflected in the mortgage you paid over 30 years or however long you are. And rental, it goes up and down, but right now rentals are gouging people. And so if someone comes along who's got a track record of doing big things and says there's this $300 trillion industry, and I have a plan, and here's the plan. And none of us know what the plan is, by the way, but Andreessen does. But if you believe the plan is even half likely to happen, there are massive outcomes of being successful. And Newman, whatever you think about him, isn't scared of taking on big stuff, even though I think he's got dodgy ethics. And I think he doesn't understand when to slow down and when to speed up. So
pardon me for interrupting, but blah, blah, blah. What a bunch of crap. The guy has jumped in. The guy has jumped in with this charlatan that has proven himself to be some kind of whack job. Okay, so I'm 100% committed to this. That's great. No, it's not. I mean, it's like hit me with a ton of bricks once and hit me with a ton of bricks twice. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm like,
Especially given what you just said about the fact that he knows what the losses are like. This would be, I think, the biggest loss he would take, wouldn't it be? I mean, based on the numbers.
I thought these investor folks, they invest in people. You know, they place their bets on management teams and people. And this Newman dude, I mean, did they watch the Hulu documentary at all?
Damn them if they didn't.
They must not have, because why would they put a bet on him? I don't get it. I really don't.
What it means is that they think the chances of that. I wrote my editorial about it yesterday, so you can go and read it in That Was the Week on Substack. But basically, if they believe that 350 million could turn into 35 billion, and my guess is in order to do the investment, they have to believe that.
Sure do. Yeah.
Then everything else is just a detail.
Well, that's great faith. I have great faith that this will happen. I think.
You've got to remember that the product of venture capital is money. Their product isn't anything that the companies do. Their product is money. So when they see someone, all they've got to figure out is, do they believe this person will turn that amount of money into this other amount of money, and how long will it take to do it?
Okay, let me ask you this. So 350 million, what percentage of their capital is 350 million?
It depends which funds are fund. Well, so here's the thing. Andreessen Horowitz is no longer a venture capital fund. Andreessen Horowitz is now a company and a registered investment advisor. So it manages multiple pools of capital. I think in aggregate, it's probably a little bit under 10 billion. And so we don't really know which pools this money came out of, but could they lose it and still be fine? Absolutely. Yeah. Not a problem.
Wow. I'm
Is that clear? Is that clear now?
Is that why you jumped off?
No, I jumped off because I didn't want to be on camera.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I'm here. I can hear still, at least out of this ear.
He was eating his cornflakes, guys, because it's early.
It's
9:30.
breakfast time. Yeah.
So is that clear, Brent?
No, I mean, well,
Yeah, I'm confused too. So
what's clear to me is apparently they have so much money that this is almost like placing a bet. What it sounds like, because the potential payoff is so great, they say, we can afford to throw $350 million out there because, hey, what if they do hit? We don't need it, but if we can get.
Well, this is a bit boring for our audience. Might find this boring, but I'll just tell you one set of facts. So the way that venture works is, we all know startups do seed rounds, A rounds, B rounds, D rounds, and so on. Andreessen really specialize in a hybrid. They do some A rounds and then they do C's and D's. So earlier and later. The average B round in the world, only 14% of those companies ever go on to do a D round. There's only 14% grow. So
wouldn't that be great if you were in school, if you could say, you're asked a question, you say, well, here's the answer. Is there only 12% chance that I know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Now
that'll be okay.
But wait, when the top funds invest, that statistic goes from 14% to 69%. So people like Sequoia Capital, Andreessen.
Wait, do we see that? Can we roll that back and just when he flipped it into But on the other hand, what are you
Yeah.
saying?
I'm saying there's a quality in venture capital, which Andreessen's part of, and maybe it's partly self-certain, maybe that it's because of them, but in other words, maybe their money makes a lot of difference to the outcome. But 69% of companies that get a B round from people like Andreessen go on to become unicorns, 69%. And as opposed to 14% normal. And if you go earlier, only 1% of invested in companies become unicorns. But in this kind of rarefied atmosphere, it goes way, way higher. Like
So what you're saying is that almost 40% fail.
yeah, but it doesn't matter because the multiples on the ones that wins are more than 100x.
It's like Hollywood. It's a hits business.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all those good movies that are coming out. It's fantastic.
You know, it's a hits business as long as the guy on the very top is determined that he's willing to take the chance. And for example, the cost of marketing Batgirl was going to be almost as much as it cost to produce the movie. So that was one of the reasons that he pulled out of releasing that film. He being David Zaslav.
But becoming a unicorn isn't, in my mind, the end of the road or even a laudable goal.
Yeah.
Becoming a unicorn is almost like getting stuck.
No, you're right. In my work life, I measure things by what's called MOIC, multiple of invested capital. So if you put in $1 million and it turns into 100 million, that's 100x.
That's nice.
However, it's paper gain. And there's a second thing called distributions as a paid in capital. So if you put in $1 million and you distribute 100 million, that's 100x what's called DPI, and that's cash. So most venture is measured in what the short version is MOIC. Most venture is measured in MOIC, which is paper gains. And then there's DPI, which is actual gains. And DPI usually takes 12 or 13 years. MOIC happens very quickly. So in a 3-year window from a B round, probably most investments are up 6 to 10x in this group. So the game is nuanced. You've got to really dive into it to see why they do what they do. But I have no doubt Andreessen fully believes that this is turning 350 million into 35 billion. And if he's right, the mutual funds that we all have our pensions in get to gain because they're his investors. So this is a way that America distributes wealth to normal people via intermediaries. It's actually quite democratizing, and the UK doesn't have anything close to this scale in doing that.
So
what percentage of Americans have mutual funds?
Well, they have pensions that the pension.
What percent have pensions?
I actually don't know. Do you know? I have no idea.
I don't, but I think that it's a fairly narrow upper margin of the population.
Well, if you're making the point that this isn't in the good use of the word communism, I agree. Poor people don't benefit, and so it's
what
not
is
a
the good
solution.
use of the word communism? I don't know what that means.
The distribution of the
Democrats,
the distribution of the output to everybody equally according to their needs is basically the definition. So it isn't that. So it is people who have pensions, and it doesn't therefore solve most of the extreme social problems at all. But I'll tell you what, compared to the rest of the world, it goes way further towards distributing outcomes because venture capital is not well regarded in the rest of the world.
So what is exactly this prop? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dennis. This is way more
The
important.
answer to Michael's question is about 45% of American households have some mutual funds. What's interesting is that this phenomenon started in Y2K at 45.7%, and it's been up and down in a very narrow range. In 2021, it was 45.4%. So it's a little bit less than the top half of the population.
Welcome to the Gillmor gang, where we teach you things.
Well, one
The
thing,
narration.
about that, I would just like to point out, because it was a really interesting post on LinkedIn from a Black female CEO who, really, I think, asked some valid questions about why is a company like Andreessen Horowitz throwing money at a guy like this whose track record, like I said, I don't know, Frankie, you saw it. The guy came off as a complete and utter flake.
Yeah.
And to see this guy get 350, it must, if I was underrepresented CEO in the tech space who's been trying to, get a fraction of that kind of money, I would be so mad. And it comes across because it just feels like this, where's the actual rationale for this guy?
Yeah.
That kind of money.
Well, but see,
just let me say one thing, Frank, which is venture capital. It clearly is not diverse in any way whatsoever. However, it does specialize in crazy. I don't know if any of you have ever met Bezos or Elon Musk or even Larry and Sergey. These are not normal people.
Okay, just time out from the character assassination for a second. Read your screen, Keith. You're distorting at the upper end of your DAC. Turn it down a little bit.
Oh, how can
He
I
looks
do that?
fine
Yeah.
on my screen.
Yeah, it looks all right to me.
No, he means the audio. He means the audio.
Yeah,
Audio
that
seems
crackling
fine, too.
sound of distortion there when he
I've
talks.
turned it down. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't.
Go ahead.
Oh, now I have to clean it up.
I want to ask a question because I'm an idiot and naive, but what exactly does this sort of WeWork version of real estate for renters do? What exactly does it do? If that's an inaccurate description, let's hear one that's better.
I don't think it's been explicitly exposed.
Yes.
There are a lot of hints and buzzwords about it. Some of them sound like echoes of WeWork, giving people a sense of community in their rental housing.
Do you mean roommates?
I think that
I don't know. I don't think that means a common room with a big TV or what, or some private social network that links the apartments. I have no idea what they're
kind of like a nut house. It sounds like you're describing.
I think the theme that, and Michael is right, they haven't disclosed everything, but almost nothing. But what they have disclosed is they think that property should be delivered as a service, so that Dickensian landlord-renter relationship where the landlord is terrible and the renter is the victim. They want to flip that around and offer residential real estate as a service where it's expected that you get, whatever the list of things are that they include in that as part of the experience. They're probably going to Airbnb it where, like, you've only got a month obligation. You probably don't have any down payment or forward rent. I mean, they basically want to make renting pleasurable.
Well, it sounds like they're trying to create a rental version of Uber,
or another version of a hotel.
It's more of a hotel because they're buying the properties.
Pardon?
They're buying the properties.
Well, hotel owners have bought their properties too.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah,
I was agreeing with you.
So it's more like Zipcar.
It's not like no, it's not like Zipcar. There's no
actual business here. It's different than Zipcar.
No, it's an asset management business. It's an asset. So if you think about asset management, Open Door, which buys houses, and Carvana, which buys cars, and Car Gurus, these are all people who buy assets and then sell them. And the velocity of the sale drives a margin. The margin on any individual sale is very low, but the velocity drives decent revenues. And this is an asset business. They're buying the properties and they're going to make money from owning them. And probably they'll use debt to buy the properties, but the revenues will pay the debt. And by the way, I can model that in my head. It's a totally
No,
rational-
I totally, but I
Really?
hear it. I see that. I get it. That makes a lot of sense from a smart guy's perspective. You know what it sounds like to me? Back in the day when the film
Where's the
labs-
P? Sounds like to me. Where's,
Yeah.
is it under that one? No, it's.
Maybe
How about
could
that?
be, yeah, it could be, and that's the chance and the risk. But it sounds to me like back in the day we used to have two things called either a film lab where the film got processed, or a paper lab where you went to the paper lab to get the film processed at the film lab, and the paper lab charged you a fee. That's sort of it in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Well,
you know, this-
no, they're more like the film lab. They're going to own the properties. So think of it this way: if you lend me 350 million, I'll go and buy that
Yeah.
many condos.
So now it sounds like a hybrid then.
It's not even
I think-
hybrid. It's a pure. They're becoming a landlord with the promise of quality service, which is different than WeWork. WeWork leased the properties. They didn't own most of them. They owned some of them. So you have to get into the detail, but I guarantee it is not going to be irrational.
Well, that's why I said I don't know what I'm
And
talking about.
to the African American, I don't know if she's African American. The person who's commenting on LinkedIn. Here's the learning. I honestly think that venture capital is 99% greed driven, greed in the good American sense of the word greed. And if you go with a big enough idea and you can show the outputs 10 years from now, and you can articulate it and they believe you can execute it, nothing will stand in the way. They'll throw money at you. You won't have to beg for it. So if you're not getting funded, it's almost always because you don't evoke greed.
Well, I think there's some important caveats to that. You know,
I think Frank's idea is an idea that popped into my mind, although I would describe it as re-intermediation. We've been through 40 or so years of deregulation and disintermediation, taking middle people out and reducing prices or costs and sending the savings on to the end buyer. This seems to be a retrograde motion. I have a hard time understanding how society would want to get on its horse and ride in the other direction at this point.
On real estate, you mean?
Yeah.
It's certainly a whole new thing that I might say, let's drop this right in the middle of a possible conceivable reception right now. Let's do that. Let's drop us in there. It sounds to me like that would be a huge barrier to entry.
But look, there is a problem, right? I'll just give you an example. I have a mortgage on my house, and I have a mortgage. Why? Because I get 100% tax relief on interest. So rich people don't pay anything for their mortgages. They pay the principal back, and the government pays the interest. So most poor people can't do that. Because they can't get the money for the down payment to get a mortgage, and they don't pay enough tax to offset the interest anyway because their salary isn't big enough. So mortgages make the rich richer and make the poor poorer. So it would be a fantastic thing if you could get rid of them. I mean, and by the way, it's hundreds of trillions of dollars. So the
I
net
don't agree
impact,
that you're making the assumption that mortgages are what make people poor. I wouldn't say that. I'd say the fact that you can't get a mortgage and stabilize your monthly payment is what makes you poorer. If you can't stabilize your monthly payment because you rent and your rent goes up every year, you can't save. That's a different thing.
I think probably we're looking at an elephant from opposite sides, and we talked about the same thing.
It's a snake.
No, but it also
you know what,
depends.
Dennis?
It's a tree.
It's a cat.
Whether it is a rent or a mortgage payment, it also depends on what percentage of your income is going to pay for your housing. If for many people, it's half or more of their income. They're never going to accumulate wealth that way. If you are making enough money so that your housing costs are a quarter of your income or less than that, you can accumulate a great deal of wealth.
Yeah, but you must admit that the balance of the mechanism, well, you have to compare it with a better system to understand it. So a better system.
Well, hang on a second. When you say you must admit, my reaction is no, I'm not going to admit. So,
that's the reflex. Anything I say.
But don't reject out of hand. Hear the proposition and then tell us what.
I mean, you're selling the pie here. I don't know what the pie actually is, but
let me try. Let me try this.
So my reaction to the pitch is no.
All right. Let me offer Keith another introduction. You may be willing to admit.
Yeah, you may consider the following.
And I feel much better. I feel embraced in this.
So my monthly mortgage payment is $6,000.
Damn.
Now let's imagine for a second that I didn't have a mortgage, but instead of I don't know what percentage it is, say 20% of my house being owned by Wells Fargo. Let's imagine you six could all own 20% of my house by giving me
120%.
By giving me money, and the promise I give back to you is you'll own that percentage of the house forever, and when I sell it, you'll get your share of the uptick.
Forever.
So each of us puts in $1,000 a month against your house. That
No, just a one-time. Frank, just a one-time down payment.
So and it's on the blockchain so that I forever will have been recognized as having spent that money.
But the deed will be an NFT, Steve.
Yeah, you're not by making fun of it. You're not listening to the idea. So
when does the house become an NFT?
That was my
waiting
question.
For that.
Yeah,
much better.
The house is never NFT, but the certificate of ownership could be.
That's what I just said. The deed is an NFT.
So basically, what happens then is instead of borrowing a mortgage, I've now fractionally shared ownership in my house and the upside. And now that $6,000 a month I pay, instead of spending on mortgage, I can go and spend on other stuff, which is a massive benefit to the economy. Because now instead of channeling interest payments to a few mortgage lenders, I'm buying in my local grocery store, I'm buying cars, I'm going on vacations. And so mortgages represent a net loss to the economy and a net loss to individuals because most of the upside on the property is going to the mortgage lenders.
Oh, no, that's a fallacy. First of all, if you've got that kind of money to own your own home, you're probably wealthy enough that you don't spend everything that you take in. So your whole multiplier effect spending diminishes for sure. On the other hand, buying a house, getting a mortgage causes household formation, causes people to go out and buy refrigerators and stoves and washers and dryers and all that good stuff. They need cars to go to work. It makes them very, very good employees because they show up every day because they got to get a paycheck. I would say getting the mortgage is the real economic stimulus.
I think you could look at it that way and say it gets people.
No, you must look at it that way.
Okay.
Generationally, eventually that mortgage is paid off, and that home is sold or it's inherited by the owner's heirs, children, or whoever their heirs are.
That's true.
And that is one of the major formation of wealth across the population, more than anything else. So a mortgage is probably a bad deal if you think about the percentage of payment that goes to interest, but it is the best available method of wealth creation.
Yeah, unless you're
American families.
Horowitz.
So I don't disagree with that. I strongly agree with that. So the only question then is, could you improve on it? Could you make that more true?
I think the best wealth creation vehicle over the last 2 or 3 decades has actually been tech startups. When you think if you are fortunate enough to be in that atmosphere and that environment and part of that ecosystem.
But that's a big if. If you
Well,
are,
that's a
you know,
huge
if you're in it, you get it. If you're not in it, you don't get it.
But that's what I'm saying. Most of the people that look like me are definitely not in it, and so they're almost completely shut out from being able to get $350 million from Andreessen Horowitz, which is why that lady wrote what she did. She's completely frustrated by the fact that she is shut out of the biggest wealth creation vehicle there is.
You can reply back to her. Tell her to contact me directly. I mentor founders on how to pitch venture capitalists. I guarantee this problem is her pitch, not her ethnicity.
I put the link to what she wrote, so check it out. Because I don't know her. I just saw what she wrote on LinkedIn.
Oh, you saw it. Anyway.
If I can help you get to her, I will be glad to do so. Because
right.
I feel her frustration, although I'm not the one. I'm not trying to do what she's trying to do, but I can just feel her frustration seeing this. She must have watched the Hulu documentary. That's all I can say.
Look, literally speaking, she's 100% accurate in her impression. In that most venture capital goes to white men. Actually, these days it's young white men. So even I'm in the group that doesn't get it, so that's actually true. But the reason it's true isn't prejudice against minorities or even large minorities. It's not prejudice. It's learning how to trigger the VC's desire to write a check is not easy. And
so while I'll say it may not be consciously, a barrier because of what you just said. Just think about it. Who is involved in who gets what?
It's a structural, yeah, you're right.
Who is involved with creating the structure?
That's the key issue, and that's one of the things that is so hard for especially white people to grok. This is not simply a question of prejudice. This is a question of structural barriers. This is a question of who knows whom. Who can pick up a phone and call whom? This is a question of all kinds of things that have to do with where you go to school, who your parents are, what you start out in. So you can be, without personal prejudice. You may say, I love all people, all shapes, colors, genders, orientation, but that still leaves a whole lot of barriers in place that have nothing to do with personal preference or personal prejudice.
You're entirely right. I've never probably told you my personal story, but I didn't understand equity until I was 40 years old. You don't, when you were raised in where I was raised, no one teaches you about equity and the fact that there's value in the future of an idea, if you can execute it, that you can sell today for a price. I had no clue about any of that. I literally was 40 years old and I started EasyNet, and we started pitching people to invest. First time the idea ever occurred to me. And it's because I wasn't taught it. And so whether you're poor, it's clearly if you're from a Black neighborhood, that tends to correlate to being poor. Because of the structural inequalities, you just don't learn this stuff. And what I'm saying is you can learn it. I learned it, and you can unlock things if you know how to. And you'll discover when you do that the only person who can fix this inequity is you. They'll never fix it for you. You can fix it by learning their game and being better at it than them because you're smart enough to do that.
I think generally speaking, yeah, all right. But that would be kind of the exception to the rule. Most people are not going to be able to kind of be what you were able to do for a variety of reasons. But if we're talking about a structural change, that means going beyond what the individual can do if they put all their might to it, to creating a structure that allows a more significant percentage of the population to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, so we have to learn. I mean, there's some great incubator and accelerator programs now that teach how to do this. You have to expose yourself to learning, and then obviously it's a process, right? You're going to suck the first time you try,
Right.
and then you'll get better, and you learn from your mistakes, and you've got to be therefore very tolerant of failure, because if you're not tolerant of failure, you won't go through the pain barrier and learn. So it's more nuanced than just, I mean, Michael's 100% right. The landscape and the canvas are 100% against you. And so you have a harder climb, but you can still do it.
That's true. But just think about the person who wrote that LinkedIn post. She's probably done a lot of the right things, and it's probably been met with a lot of less than success, and at least from her perspective. And then she wakes up yesterday and sees Andreessen Horowitz investing $350 million into Adam Newman, knowing the backstory to what he did with his last venture. And then I can feel the exasperation.
Well, you can be surprised, but the worst reaction she can have, and if she's listening, I'd love to speak to you. I can navigate this with her, is if you allow yourself to feel the victim of that, you're signing your own death warrant. The only way to react to that is to be better than Adam Newman, and you can be.
Yeah, I think one of the key things that you said, Keith, was tolerance for failure. Because you will find rejection, and it's the number of rejections you can accept without being discouraged that will be the key to your eventual success. If you say if the first no turns you down and sets you off on a different path, if the 10th no turns you down and sets you off on a different path, you'll never get there. There is not guaranteed, but perhaps a yes at the end of the path.
I'm super experienced at this, and I can tell you, I'm in the middle of fundraising right now. I've had more than 100 meetings. I haven't got one yes yet. I've got some maybes. It's normal.
What a way to live.
Especially if you have a $6,000 mortgage. Jeez.
You think? I mean, the guy lives in Xanadu.
Well, this reminds me of an anecdote someone told me about a friend of his who was a salesman for nuclear power plants. And his life was that he only had to make one sale every 10 years. But imagine going through those 10 years.
What about you get to year 9? It's like, oh, shit.
Oh God, the police. Where are they?
I forget. I don't know if I'm allowed to anyway. Shit.
Or the year 1999.
I think that comment from Brent immediately conjured up Better Call Saul in my head. Oh shit.
All right. Can I switch the dial a little bit? Apple apparently is gonna possibly be announcing a new phone that's gonna come out soon. They say like as soon as September 7th or something like that. Anybody excited about this?
A new phone?
A new phone and a new
That
watch.
story that you sent me yesterday talked about
That was the iPad.
5,000 versions of the existing iPad inventory.
Yeah, well, that's for the October.
Yeah. So, but that, as we know, the iPad is a bigger iPhone.
You're talking about the iPhone.
The iPhone, they say, is
14.
Yeah, the iPhone 14 and the Watch 8, I think that's what the speculation is. They're going to announce that early September, and it'll be actually available right away. Is anybody excited about that?
I'm always excited about it. This doesn't mean I'll always buy it, but of course I'm excited about it.
I'm not. I'm kind of pissed off.
There's so much knock on Apple for simply iterating and not introducing new categories of products. But if you think about it, those iterations really add up, and continuing to refine and expand on the capabilities of the existing category is itself a spectacular form of innovation.
Does anybody want a folding OLED screen on their phone?
No.
Is that?
I don't dream of that at night, so
Yeah.
Is,
Me neither.
is there a prospective features list that you've heard about that this new phone is going to have? Do we have any leaks?
Well, there always are, faster, smaller notch, bigger, smaller. Who cares? Those preview features are sometimes right, sometimes wrong. I can wait for the 3 weeks and find out what the official list is.
Well, I've got an 11, so I'm in the market.
Well, there you go.
Well, the 13 did
The one I have is this one. It's right between the 12 and the 14.
He's got some cloaking device on his.
Right.
Very, very exciting.
It's the first time I've not bought the new phone ever.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was just wondering if y'all had heard about what this, I mean, that sounds like it's coming out in a couple of weeks, and no one's heard of any sort of features list.
Yeah, there are rumors up there. Frank,
Brent, what is it that you were talking about, Brent?
Say that again.
What were you talking about? When you saw this post or whatever it was that triggered this comment about the new iPhone? Did it say it's going to have a screen? I mean,
No, know what triggered it for me is there's another post that was written that said Apple is considering putting mobile ads on your phones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would be the reason for me not to buy the new iPhone 14.
Well, it's going, if they do that, it will be in the software that you upgrade to your existing phones. So that, it's not just buying a new phone. It's refusing.
Okay,
to
well,
upgrade.
let me respond. Here's what I think. The issue of Apple and ads is a stalking horse for an argument that nobody cares about. Do people really think? I mean, Frank made this noise about ads in relationship to Apple about 30 seconds ago, right? Frank?
I don't remember.
You went or something like that. Was that about ads?
Probably.
Okay, so
Honestly, it also
go ahead.
just could have been me clearing my throat too. I
Well,
suppose.
the multi-purpose.
Yeah, no, it's about ads.
Okay, I totally disagree with the notion that people don't want ads. I think they want ads if it will reduce the price.
Okay, now you're
of the device.
getting into a debate we had yesterday on the players and a debate I'm going to have later
Yeah.
on.
I totally disagree with everything you said about that on the player. Now we're on the
Okay.
No, but listen,
Gillmor Gang
I mean,
players, and I'm saying to you,
the Gillmor Gang players.
you know what?
Yeah.
There's research, Steve, that says that people in terms of the streaming world are more likely to accept AVOD, which is advertiser supported video on demand.
exactly.
And I think that does translate probably to your phone. People will just be able, they'll turn them off or turn them on.
Totally.
Whether you like it or not, Brent, it's gonna come because it's a screen. Because it's a screen that hasn't been monetized like that.
What do they need? Why does Apple need to do that? Well, they already are making 80 some odd billion dollars in revenue a quarter, 20 billion in profit. They're selling all sorts of stuff.
Well, the only answer to that that I would give.
Why do they need to do that to piss people? Why do they need to piss us off?
Because it's
Because they can.
as the Web3 crowd says, it's inevitable.
It's
So a couple of things to say about that. if advertising can lower the price, people are interested in it. With
Correct.
AVOD,
That
you
ain't
can
gonna
say,
happen.
look, you can get the ad-free version of our service for $12 or the ad-supported service for $6. Okay, I'll make a choice. It's not clear that Apple will give you an option to say you can buy the iPhone for $1,000 without ads or $800 with ads. I
But
don't
they
imagine
already
that's
do
gonna
give you, they do give you that choice right now.
Yeah,
I'm
so
on
we don't have to
I'm
pay.
on a payment plan through Citizen One or whatever it is. I don't spend money in one lump sum. I spend it on a monthly basis.
Okay,
But
well,
that's
maybe
just
they will
on the
give you a
server.
pricing differential. But I want to say something else. Part of this ad issue has to do with tracking and privacy. And Apple's brand has always been, we are going to put a barrier against tracking and preserve your privacy. So
Well-
ads become very valuable to advertisers if you can target them carefully. So that's one issue. So if Apple does this, they're going to have to come up with a good story, both for their consumers and their advertisers,
There is no
as
good
to how they're preserving your privacy and
What
how
did you
they're
say,
allowing
Dennis?
ads to be targeted. The second thing I want to say is, as big as the privacy barriers that Apple has erected in their software, they have not managed to keep ads off my iPhone. I get ads from Google. I get ads from YouTube. I get ads from Twitter. I get ads from Facebook if I use Facebook, which I don't on my phone. So the iPhone environment is already inundated with advertising. Apple
Well,
hasn't been able to prevent that.
But the big
So why
difference
shouldn't they?
is-
Why shouldn't they have the opportunity to dip a little dipper into that revenue stream?
They don't need it. That's why. I mean, they just don't need it. Aren't they doing pretty good? What is their market cap is 2.3 trillion or something like that? Do they need it? I don't think so. It just feels like, the customers don't want more. I mean, if they did a survey, are they going to actually say, well, our survey says our customers want more ads? I don't think that's going to be the case. If you're already doing really well, what's the point?
Brent, I totally agree with you and the passion that you're showing for this, but I have to say,
It's still coming. It's not like I'm going to stop this, but it just irritates me because there's no need for them. Michael, what you said is there are already ads all over the place on your
so
mobile
it's coming.
device, right?
I want to see how they creatively insert the ads into any application.
Oh, they'll figure it out.
Of
Well,
course they will.
then you watch the keynote. That doesn't mean you have to have it on your phone.
Oh man.
The issue is, like Michael said, there are already ads all over the place. Apple just ain't getting a cut. So now they're going to create a system that, we'll still get ads and probably more, but now Apple will be able to get the cut. Remember, there was an article that came out last week where apparently Apple and Facebook had these private talks to try to figure out some kind of a partnership that would allow, them to kind of share the wealth to a certain extent around ads and apps and things like that. And Facebook turned them down because Apple said that, hey, if we kind of do things in our business model, you consider an app to be nothing to be ad related. We consider anything that comes through our apps marketplace, we get a cut of 30%. So if you just let it flow through, we'll treat it as a normal, revenue pass through. We'll take our 30, you keep the 7. Facebook didn't want to do that because the way that they defined revenue for ads had nothing to do with apps. So they didn't want to share anything that they're used to not having to share. And the talks completely broke down apparently. So this
but let's not forget that Facebook is an app that
get their money.
Facebook is an app that you can get on the Apple Store. So
yeah, but it's a free app, so there's no revenue sharing going on.
No, yeah. So you've got to go back to first principles a little bit here. Apple was never against apps. Apple was against cross-site cookies. So it was against tracking people across environments. So Google is the core player in the tracking people across environments. Facebook is second, Amazon is third. So What Apple wants is ads are fine as long as you only use the information you have from your own environment. And therefore, you can't follow people when they leave. You can only look at what they do when they're in your environment. And Google is like a year into acknowledging they're going to have to go in that direction. And they just announced they're delaying it till the end of 2023. So Apple is very pro-advertising and it's pro-privacy because it doesn't know who you are, but it does profile you anonymously inside its own environment and tries to deliver recommendations in the App Store, for example, based on an insight into you from everything they've got internally. So Apple is not against ads and it's not against tracking. It is for privacy and it is against cross-site. That's the nuance there. So advertising definitely isn't going away.
I would say, Apple's business model had absolutely nothing to do with advertising. It started out selling stuff. Well, not this, but by the way, this is my new toy. It's just not an Apple toy.
Is that the Z Cam?
No, that's the BS1H Panasonic full frame sensor box.
Oh,
that looks like you could make a feature film out of with
this is Netflix approved. By the way, it's not even an Apple product. But anyway, Apple, they make their money off of selling stuff. So they Facebook makes their money off of selling their users. So their business models are completely different. Apple has never been dependent on the things that Facebook is completely dependent on. So when Apple started talking partnership about treating their apps the way they want, and Facebook kind of rolling with it, Facebook was like, well, we're the ones giving up the 30%. What are you willing to give up? Apple doesn't have to give up anything. That's why this whole
Brent,
irritating.
Brent, look at the screen.
Oh, look at that. That's all kitted out.
That is a Z Cam.
Look at that lens.
That's just a normal Canon lens.
That was a pretty
yeah, but Canon makes
normal
some damn
Canon
good
lens.
glass.
Okay.
That's Canon lenses are good glass.
Okay, are we doing anything here except
No, we're talking
diverting
about glass. We're
No,
talking about good glass.
I'm irritated to Apple. And here's the biggest irritation of all. It is not going to stop me from buying the stuff because the stuff is so good.
exactly? And
It's the
that's where
irritating part of it.
you and I meet.
I hate
At
that.
the Apple Store.
I don't care about personally. I don't care whether they ladle it up with ads as long as there is some user benefit that is sold to me.
Well, I don't
That
see
means a
user
lower
benefit in
price.
ads.
It
That's the
means
problem.
if that means a free subscription to one of
Apple
the
TV?
streaming services that I don't care about, okay, I might go for that since I have no input or impact in the decision to begin with. I mean, we're just sitting here waiting for offers, and we're going to pick the one that we think is most interesting at the moment. And, ads on Apple devices is definitely going to happen.
Well, it's already happening in the App Store, but it's only in the App Store.
No, that's like saying that, Andreessen Horowitz isn't going to do any ads around this new methodology for renting apartments.
But do you think Apple are going to put ads on the alert screen?
Why not?
They're going to put it on the home screen as soon as you
I don't think they
phone
will.
on. Turn the phone on, you get a 3-second ad.
I mean, I distinguish between environments where I'm consuming content, like say streaming HBO or something, versus functional environments where I'm trying to achieve a goal, like say Google Mail or the App Store. And I don't really mind apps in the functional places, ads, I mean, but I hate them in my content consumption because it delays my enjoyment of the content.
That's the worst. You're right. That's why I'm paying $11.99 for YouTube Premium, because I detest when I'm watching a video and then completely out of the blue, at the worst opportunity, a damn ad comes up. It makes no sense, no rhyme or reason.
I've seen this movie. You were complaining
know.
about this about a month ago.
And I'm
I agree. I agree.
still
All right.
irritating.
Granted, on the other hand, take a look at the streaming charts about what's going up and what's going down. What's going up is ad-supported video, as you said,
Yeah.
Frank. And what's going down is any differentiation between the so-called disruptors like Netflix and the so-called I don't know what they are, HBO,
Well, traditional media, and the other story about that, Steve, is that there was also the streaming beats cable and broadcasting story,
Right.
that just broke too. So I mean, you can extrapolate to that end.
That goes full circle on LinkedIn. Esteban Kolsky and Alan Berkson have been commenting from our earlier conversation. And Esteban made the point that 12% of Americans live in poverty, which is below 22K a year. And another 45% live paycheck to paycheck, which means they don't have any savings. That is why these numbers are going in the direction Steve's suggesting. It's not because people like us are choosing ad-supported.
Yeah.
At least in our core offerings, maybe for things we don't really want to subscribe to, we might, but people who don't have a choice have to choose those offerings.
Or
I'm one of those people. Nobody has a choice. You're given an offering. There's a screen which used to be called TV Guide, and now it's called Zip. Good luck. Talk to Siri.
Of course, you have a choice. You can click subscribe. You can click not subscribe.
Or you can
have HBO Max,
or you can be
have
auto
HBO Max.
subscribed to it. What is the choice that you're making there between
I'm saying that
an ad-supported subscription model and a subscription-supported ad model? It's the same thing.
No, what I'm saying is that every household will have a budget of what they're willing to spend for streaming entertainment, and they have a choice of how to spend it. You could get one premium service. You can get 3 ad-supported services. You could get a super premium service like the Metropolitan Opera or the British NT at Home or Criterion Movies.
That sounds
You have
right.
a choice. You can say,
Okay,
I'll take this or I won't take this.
But the
You
choice,
don't have to get Hulu. You don't have to get Disney Plus. You don't have to get Netflix. You always have a choice.
yeah, but that you're talking about the subscription market when you talk like that. The advertising budget in somebody's head is just as significant, if not more so, than how much they spend for newsletters and subscription content. People will spend what they can afford on subscriptions until they run out of money to pay for the subscription that they're paying for the phone. At which point,
Or they change their priorities. They say, I don't watch this that often.
absolutely.
I'd rather buy a better cut of meat this month.
That's right. So the choice there is I'd rather not watch the cable news networks because they're not providing any value to me. And I can get it for free, but the time that I spend on it is onerous. And that is causing a huge shift. What you just said, people are making choices, but they're being sold choices based on privacy and other issues that really have nothing to do with what a large percentage of people are going to actually do.
Use an antenna.
I just installed an antenna, by the way, just because of Frank. I wanted to see what this ATSC3 was all about, and it turns out it's not about anything yet because no one's using it yet.
Only a few. But listen, your television antenna is 100% uncompressed video. Which
No,
is
the quality. I will say that the video quality is noticeably higher than streaming, but you have to put up with NBC with ads every 3 minutes.
Oh my God! Every 60,000 commercials during the Today Show. It's impossible to watch.
Good thing I don't watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Good for me.
There you go. And
Yeah.
wherever you go, there
Just
you
watch
are.
the recount summary.
Don't
Listen,
buy
speaking-
into the AST3 Phantom technology. It doesn't exist.
Not yet. It does exist. It just doesn't exist where you live. And by the way,
And it
yeah,
won't.
there you go. And by the way, were we happy? Were we unhappy to see, or do you even care Brian Stelter leaving CNN?
Well, I'm unhappy. I thought he did a very good job, but on the other hand, I rarely watched him.
That's kind of
Well,
the
He did a very good job in
I
the
think I've
3.5
ever
minutes I
heard.
ever saw.
I mean,
him.
when I,
from the perspective of Disco Bros, Brian didn't fit the mold of what it was they were heading towards, because he was so anti-Trump, and put it in his shows. But on the other hand, it will save a ton of money in a time when, if you look at what Disco Bros has right now, it's huge debt.
Is this
Yep.
the thing where they're cutting 36 shows on HBO Max for something? For this?
Yeah, they're dropping a lot of shows. If they don't have the shows, they don't have to pay residuals and royalties. So
Wow.
Well, and they
Like,
also
really?
dropped like 25 people at HBO Max. So I mean, I believe there's been a
I think there's a real conflict between having to service their debt and put out a great product. It's not clear to me that they're going to wind up with the head of the game by the time they make all these.
well,
adjustments.
and if I'm a shareholder, I also sort of smell something fishy in the air too. I don't want to point a finger, but it just seems like they're gonna take care of their debt. They're not gonna make great content, which is what my sort of impression of what Warner Brothers and Discovery are all about.
Did any of you watch the finale of Westworld?
I did not,
No.
but
I didn't even
that's
watch
I haven't watched anything since season 1. So.
Yeah, check out She-Hulk. Trust me.
Mm.
Oh, would that be a Marvel film? Would it be a
It's
Marvel series on Disney
it-
Plus?
It is, but it's unlike anything you've ever seen. It's comedy.
Okay.
It's a
Well, it has
it's
to be, right?
yeah. She-Hulk, attorney-at-law. I mean, it was pretty good. I enjoyed the first episode. If it signals what's coming, it's going to be worth watching. And it's being run the same way that they run a lot of their new stuff, which is you only get it on a certain day, on a certain time, once a week. I mean, it comes up in the morning on, I don't know, Thursday.
Okay,
Friday.
Tina, what did you want to ask?
So no one wants to talk about politics?
Oh, you ruined it. I was so hoping that we would go through this whole show and not have that happen. I was gonna say, wow, we're gonna make it. And here comes the executive producer herself.
I'm just curious.
I have a last thought about
No
politics.
last thoughts.
Then I don't
That's
care.
my job.
Time for last
I'm-
thought.
That's right.
I'm
I haven't
sick-
asked
sick
you
and
that.
Sick and tired of it. That's it.
Mm,
Really.
Okay.
Yeah, well, if you
Alright.
go to what is it? KeithT.me.
It's not Keith T, it's just T.me. T.me/Gillmor gang.
Okay, if you go there, you'll see that Frank, in using the new commenting technology, has said what he just said. Only he said it 3 days ago. So what else?
Well, I had to
You're
bring
fed
it
up
up.
with.
Well, I think it's good. If
Okay, Dennis.
fed up with,
Dennis, what?
Listen,
Are you
that
fed
took
up
me
with the
to my-
politics?
That took me to my final thought, by the way. That was the
Yeah, but you
perfect
can't do
segue.
that.
Well,
I'm
then
not-
you're going to put a big space between this and the final thought. Fine.
Yeah, well, there's at least 15 minutes to go. So
What?
you're not
I don't know
leaving.
who's- What clock
11
are you
o'clock.
on? What clock are you on?
So Dennis, are you fed up with the political stuff?
No, why?
Oh,
Because I am.
Frank said he is.
Oh, well, Frank can be set up. That's okay.
Okay, so
Doesn't mean I'm not in. By the way, it doesn't mean I'm not interested. It just means I'm fed up.
I
okay,
think there's a lot to not be fed up about. I think we've turned the corner and there's actually good stuff happening for change.
Like
You're
what?
not for God's
I'm
sake.
not fed up with the politics. I'm fed up with the coverage of the politics.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Dennis is completely right. That something happened sort of in the middle of July that was like a dam breaking for all of Biden's agenda. And one after another, these bills started coming through. But in coverage, they're competing with the soap opera of Trump's legal woes.
Yep.
So what you're, Dennis, the good things that you're talking about, have they something to do with Trump's legal woes?
Partly. You see, I think that the real problem with the media or the coverage is that coverage reports the facts and tries to make straight line extrapolation into the future, and very frequently that doesn't work because there are no straight lines into the future. There are a lot of curves. But if you look, I think Michael's right. A lot of good stuff. But we started talking about this 3 weeks ago. A lot of positive stuff started happening in July. The stock market was up 4 weeks in a row in July, or the S&P 500. Bills are getting passed. Things are happening. Wackos are still winning elections, and I kind of see that as a good thing. I think there will be clear choices everywhere in the fall.
I agree with that because
For the election.
it's primary elections that the wackos are
aren't going to
winning.
win all of them, but where there are rational people, there'll be a clear choice, and that's good too. So I think slowly we're, if you add the fact that nobody's wearing a mask anymore, there's another COVID booster coming out next month. We're sort of getting out of our COVID doldrums, and it seems like
I'm out of the doldrums. I've been wearing a mask, and I tested positive this week. So,
Wow.
Granted, but if you look at the data, we're down about 20% in new cases over a 2-week period, according to the numbers that I saw in the New York Times today. So
Clearly, you're not hospitalized.
no,
Michael.
it's amazing between my 4 shots and the Paxlovid, I'm doing okay. I'm barely suffering anything. I can even tolerate the Paxlovid tongue taste, which I thought was going to be an awful thing. It's just mildly yucky. My COVID experience is nothing like the COVID experiences that people were having 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Clearly.
So I think the nation is climbing out of a torpor. It's a slow thing, but there are a lot of signs. Not everything is going in the right direction. Read Paul Krugman's column from this morning that I put in the app at wherever it is, t.me. What is it, Keith?
t.me/Gillmor gang.
Bada boom.
But here's one thing that does concern me. Things on the right are getting more radical. To some extent, that's a good thing because when it comes to the general election, as you said, Dennis, we're going to have much clearer choices. But they're so bitter, so angry, so militant that I'm very concerned about where this is all going to break out and break off.
Did you see the bill?
That's a qualitative announcement. Or I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
No, Dennis, you read. Please.
That is a qualitative observation. If you try to go quantitative, you might find that as things get more radical, there are fewer people out there on that long tail of the bell curve. So, I
think the key to that is going to be a decisive election in the fall. If there's not a decisive election in the fall, we're just going to have more and more of this kind of conflict.
Can't last. It can't last. It's heading for resolution, I think.
Does anybody see a future for Liz Cheney?
I think
Uh,
she could. I think that there's a kind of a parallel world in which she becomes the candidate in 2024.
I wrote about that in my new newsletter. I think she's in a box. There are a gazillion reasons why Republicans should love her because of all of her policy choices, and one big reason why they don't, which is her stance against Trump. On the other side, there's one big reason why Democrats admire her, but the same gazillion reasons make her completely unacceptable. So where does she go? She's the only thing in her favor is that she's still very young. And if we get past the resolution that Dennis is forecasting, I think she can reemerge. In terms of 2024, it would be great to see her on a debate stage with Trump. I think that the Republican establishment will do all they can to keep that from happening.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a great idea. The network should hire her to moderate the debates.
That.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that the Republicans will not accept a network moderator.
But just think about that for a minute.
But yeah, I love that idea. It's a brilliant idea.
The only way she's going to be successful is if she succeeds in keeping Trump out of the Oval Office.
Well, that's the one goal that she articulated clearly in her concession speech. She will do everything in her power to keep him from getting back into office. But frankly, I think that he himself is doing everything in his power to keep from getting back into office.
Well,
I don't think we need Liz Cheney. I appreciate her help.
It's okay. It's additive.
I appreciate her help. I admire what she's done. I think her contribution on the J6 committee have been fantastic. But I have for months thought that Trump is toast. He is firmly in control of a shrinking, less and less relevant party. And in terms of the population as a whole, we ain't voting for him.
And that's true. It's got to be that people are noticing that, his cohorts are either going to jail, being indicted, being called in, but it does kind of add up. And he's, even I don't want to say the diehards, but the people who are kind of in the middle there, maybe they're starting to think like, maybe we don't vote him back in.
There was a very interesting piece in the Times this morning about the fact that the FBI has never been led by a Democrat or anyone leaning Democrat. Even when people were appointed by Democratic presidents, the Democratic presidents always appointed someone who was right of center. And now this goes back over a century. Now the far right is sort of eating its own and going after the FBI. That's a position that cannot last. It cannot. It's not sustainable.
Well,
And it's going beyond that. I don't know if you. I think was it Chuck Grassley who said that the IRS agents are now being armed and they're going to come to the doors of small business owners armed with AK-47s to.
No, I think they're just AR-15s.
Let them come here. They can have anything that's on the wall.
Well, also, don't you think that the party, and I said this, years back, you can't be a Trumpist and a Republican. You have to pick one or the other because they're two separate things. And
they're not separate things.
I think that, the Republican.
I think they used to be two separate things, but I think that Trump has conquered the Republican Party. There is no Republican Party now, apart from Trump.
Or maybe Liz Cheney and maybe a couple of.
But the majority of the Republicans have voted them off the island.
That's okay with me. Why do we care?
So let's rename the party. Let's start calling them Trumpists instead of Republicans because they're not Republicans.
No, I disagree. They are Republicans. Republicans. Trump is a creature of the Republican strategy, not the other way around. He's a
What's
TV show
interesting-
host.
What's interesting to me is that it feels as if the Republican Party, whether Trumpist or otherwise, has concluded that holding government power is less important than ideological issues. And they are super focused on ideological issues that are losers for them and will guarantee the distance between them and power will get wider. And
I think that's only partially true. Part of it has to do with structural concentration of where Republican leaning voters live and what districts they control and can win. I think that it's more accurate to say that the Republicans realize they can never win power by holding the majority, and they're looking for ways to win power without holding the majority. That's why so many election deniers have been elected in their primaries for positions of Secretary of State. That's why they are campaigning against election
in their
boards.
primaries. Their primaries are about nominations for getting elected.
I understand that. I'm telling you,
so that's
the
that was
Republican
not a-
strategy. No, the Republican strategy is to gain
No, I
power
understood
without
what you
gaining the
said.
majority.
I understood what you said, including the stuff that you said that isn't accurate, like that what is this, representative autocracy? I mean, probably, but is it going to be successful? I mean, that's why I still think Biden's going to be the nominee and he's going to win because they're a small subset of the population, no matter whether or not they can gin up enough support in non-representative systems to be able to look like they're a threat.
Steve, I've got to jump. I've got to go to a work call.
Okay, well, why don't you say the last thing that you want to say, and then we'll get that from everybody else. Keith?
Adam Neumann. I'm going to call him Neumann on my show later today.
Hello, Neumann. Hello, Neumann.
Best microphones that are made are Neumann's.
Yes, they are.
So I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, Keith.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Keith.
Bye, Keith.
Okay,
actually-
Frank Radis, I know you can't. I let you go, not the other way around.
No, it's just I'm having trouble now.
I understand. So last thoughts?
My last thought was we need a version of the fairness doctrine that basically blocks anything that Donald Trump ever says by guaranteeing that some person on the other side gets exactly equal time to say exactly what Trump said if they ever use him. Otherwise, don't use him. Start thinking the way that the new president of CNN is thinking about not always going for the breaking news graphic and that loud music that
Yeah, we'll
signals.
see how that goes. What are they, number 3 right now?
I think they're actually number 4 right now.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, there you go. That's it. I got nothing else. Oh, and She-Hulk. Check it out.
She-Hulk.
No,
1999.
no, I'm not checking that out.
The new $20 bill will from now on be called the 1999.
Okay, so can you stay on the screen until the show is over? While you don't have to talk,
Okay,
Just-
fine.
stay there, don't leave. Okay,
I'm going to sit right here. I won't say anything.
Brent,
I got nothing because I don't want Frank hanging around not saying anything while we're just sitting there talking.
what, he's stealing your model, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right, I won't accept that, but I'll pretend to
Go
move on.
Rams. How about that?
That's better. Dennis,
I'm with Brent.
see what you reap?
Oh, no.
I'm not good at sewing.
Hey, I'm having a good summer. I'll get back to this last word thing soon.
You and Lawrence O'Donnell, or
Yeah.
yeah.
What do people think about the new Rachel Maddow Tuesday through Friday person?
She was on like a decade ago, and then got kicked off or something, right?
No, she went elsewhere. She was on Showtime. She was
Circus.
doing the circus with Heilman.
She went into the
What's her
protection
name?
program.
Alex Wagner.
Alex Wagner. Okay, no, I don't. Yeah, I just saw her briefly. I have no.
She's
no
pretty
thoughts.
good at it. She's pretty good at doing interviews.
So I had a Twitter conversation with someone about her who thought Maddow will be terribly missed, and that she's people who aren't very discerning will find Alex Wagner adequate. And I thought she did two really good shows so far this week that I've seen. The one on Florida teacher education. And how they are indoctrinating teachers to indoctrinate the students was incredible. She had some good field reporting, and she had a fine interview with Jelani Carb. I thought that was terrific. She's doing a lot of work because apparently every night she leaves stuff on the cutting room floor and posts it to the web because she can't fit it all in her show. But the guy I was talking to said, no, she smirks and sighs too much. And then I realized my mistake was I don't really watch the show. I listen to the audio feed.
Well, I smirk inside too much too, so I'm with her.
Yeah, but it's more acceptable with a pretty girl.
Oh, there you go. So what are you telling?
I pointed out to him that as far as affect goes, Rachel Maddow had her own exquisite vocabulary of sighs and gasps and scoffs and eye rolls and shrugs.
Or watch this space. Oh, I hate when they say that. Watch this space.
I think that Rachel Maddow has taken over the Brian Williams role very successfully, which is I'm only going to be on Mondays unless something interesting or important is happening, and then I'm going to be all over the place.
Yeah, except that he got a nightly show. That was his opening gambit.
No. His original job was as a replacement, network anchorman host for breaking news.
Yes,
and
that's
the job that Rachel is now, secretly moving toward. As she's Walter Cronkite.
Well, she's doing something else, and we're going to see the results of that in the future. She's developing a lot of shows.
Yeah,
so we're going to see something.
Yeah, I'm all about the choice today. What do I get to watch? Okay, I'll watch that. And if I could register that, my keystrokes as a subscription, I think I'd be better off. Did everybody get a chance to?
I did not have a last word.
Oh, that was. You were piggybacking on another last.
I was piggybacking, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, my last word is just fulsome, maximal praise to the team that landed the plane for Better Call Saul. Just a magnificent series in every respect, in storytelling, casting, performance, directing, editing, cinematography, music, sound mix, costume design. It was just peak TV, absolute peak TV.
And Rhea Seehorn is one of the great actors of our generation.
Actually, it's pronounced Ray, and
whatever.
But it's fun. It's fun to listen to the crew talk about the performances of Bob and Ray. I always get a kick out of that.
I feel so proud that I haven't watched a minute of that or the one before it.
Breaking Bad was okay. This is Better Call Saul is much better than it's like Godfather 2.
I agree. I mean, the people who made it learned a lot, but on the other hand, it benefits if you have. There's much more in Better Call Saul for people who have seen Breaking Bad than for people who haven't.
Yeah.
And for people who won't, I'm okay with that. Oh, by the way, does anybody have any crudité they could spare?
I don't get that, by the way. I mean, I know that there's a thing, but what is the thing?
He's speaking like too fancy for the Pennsylvania people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is he going to lose?
Plate, like Fetterman said, it's veggie plate, not crudité.
Is he going to lose? It looks like he's on track to lose. I don't know if you heard Mitch McConnell lamenting the poor candidates that the Republicans have this year.
Yeah, that was wonderful viewing. I can put that on a TikTok loop and it would be great.
He seemed so deflated.
He always seems deflated. He looks like a frog.
And my last final word is is that the Democrats will hold the House.
That's a biggie.
Okay.
Biggie.
I'm not even going to do the vote again.
Dennis is holding up his fist in
So
solidarity.
we have the progressive to
Dennis
the
agrees.
core, and then there's the no, they won't.
Yeah, but you've been wrong.
I-
about-
Lots
Well,
of
he's still holding on to
yes,
on buying Twitter. So
yeah. I think that the signs are likely that he sold about what is it, 20% of his Tesla stock in order to pay for losing the court judgment. What does that mean?
I don't know. He's a Republican. I don't pay any attention to him anymore.
wow.
And Val Demings is up in the polls in the Florida Senate race.
Yeah, that could help. Is Stacey Abrams still losing?
Surprise.
Yeah,
She's still behind. Last I checked.
And what about Beto O'Rourke?
He is behind, but closing. He's getting very close.
Oh, we've heard that story before.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see about that one.
Well, he's just going up with his first ads. I haven't seen them yet. So we'll see how they do.
Frank, you are now released.
You're
Was,
muted.
was Frank on a pitch count or something with talking or?
Frank's-
No,
Frank's
he
muted.
decided that I didn't want him to talk, which I was responding to the fact that he can't talk because of his voice.
Oh,
All right,
that's
I'm
what-
done. I'm done. I'm out of here. Chow mein. Y'all lame brains.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week.
Okay, thanks to our producer and director, Tina Chase Gillmore.
Does she have any last thoughts?
Thank you.
Can we get a last thought from our executive producer, maybe?
I'm so bad at last thoughts. You know, my I don't know. No.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks to everybody who showed up and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time.
Next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.